Yeah.
I am.
Okay, I'll just.
Are they better? I'm a little, and I was so sharing it and saying it would be really nice.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our council committee meeting of May the 14th, 2026. I'll ask our CAO for the roll call, please.
Thank you very much. So we begin with the chair, Deputy Mayor Sanderson,
Present.
Mayor Blair,
Present.
Councillor Weatherby,
Present.
Councillor Richardson,
Present.
Councillor Cooper, I do not see, Councillor Johnson,
Present.
Councillor Leggett, President, Councillor Martell,
Present.
Councillor Patton, Councillor Benoit,
Present.
Councillor Fletcher,
Present.
Councillor Kennedy. Present. We have quorum.
Thank you. Dan. In peace and in friendship and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I acknowledge that the Municipality of Colchester is in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq. You have an agenda before you, council. Are there any additions, any deletions you need to be made aware of? Not seeing any. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Richardson. All in favor, say aye. Contrary-minded, motion carries. You have the minutes of April 13, April 16, and April 20 circulated. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing any, we have prepared to put a motion on the floor to approve those minutes, moved by Councillor Patton, seconded by Councillor Leggett. All in favor, say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. And the motion carries. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Not seeing any lights on, so we'll move on to our action items. And our first item, Councillor Richardson is recusing himself from this discussion. So Hilden Fire Brigade debt financing and Scott. Can you take this one, please?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. This is a follow-up from correspondence that council received at the last meeting, and it's with respect to borrowing for the Hilden Fire Brigade. So as you know, the brigade did make a request to council to go through the municipality to access the treasury, the provincial treasury for a borrowing. So that's how we borrow funds typically when we go out to do a project, and it's been a while since we've actually had to borrow, but if we did, that's what we do. Fire brigades are set up so that they can either go through a municipality if they're under the Society Act, or if they are under the Fire Act, they can actually go directly to the province, but it depends how they're set up. So in this case, Hilden is set up under the Fire or under the Societies Act, so they have the option to go through the municipality. Had an opportunity to meet with the executive of the brigade and do the project in detail. They provided a lot of useful information that I found useful, and I've included a lot of that in the item. So the request is to borrow an upper limit of 3.5 million, and that would be for the new hall. And as you can see in the item, they've been contributing to a reserve now for a number of years, so that balance they have in savings is available towards the project. So there is a possibility that it will come in at less than the 3.5 million. And they're also, once they have the hall constructed and are using it, they plan to sell the existing hall, so there'll be those funds available as well. I did go through their budget to sort of ensure that they could afford this, afford the financing payments, so the principal and interest, and that did check out. And I would say that the reason, I guess, for this request would be primarily around the interest. They can get a better interest rate by doing that compared to going through a bank, so it does make things more affordable in the long run for the brigade. I did attach a couple things in here for council, one of them being the amortization period. So with the proposed borrowing, it would be over a 30-year amortization period, but it is what we call a balloon payment. So at the 10-year mark, it's available to be refinanced. So at that time, they could opt to take a shorter term loan or pay it off. Possibly take out another 10-year loan, which would be more in line with the 20-year borrowing. The other things I mentioned in here, just as comparison, the commercial lending rate was 3.995%. The program that we have through the province, we'd be looking at more like a 3.2 interest rate for the 10-year period. And yeah, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Thank you, Scott. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm prepared for a motion on the floor. The council committee recommends to council approval of the debt financing the Hilden Fire Brigade new fire hall through the Provincial Treasury Board and with Hilden Fire Brigade to repay principal and interest annually.
Thank you. We have a seconder, seconded by Councillor Kennedy. Is there any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. Going to use our clickers. The vote is open. There we go. Voting is closed. It's unanimous. Thank you, council.
You voted yes anyway.
Yeah, I did.
Motion passes. Councillor Richardson is returning to the table. The next item is Ward of Birch Street sidewalk replacement tender, and Councillor Marshall is recusing herself from this discussion. And Michelle is joining us from afar. So Michelle, hopefully we'll have a good connection. I'll let you take this one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everybody hear me?
Yes?
Great. So in front of council this evening is the award of a tender for the replacement of a sidewalk on Birch Street in Salmon River. This is 595 meters of existing asphalt sidewalk, and as we do every year or two, we do like to replace old asphalt with concrete to provide longevity. So this is on the list for replacement. In council's approved 5-year budget, we have $300,000 this year for that particular project already approved. As we always do, the drawings were produced in-house, and we did publicly issue requests for tenders. We received 4 tenders, and those results are in your item this evening. The low bid was submitted by Humphreys Landscape and Construction Limited. Their tender was deemed to be complete, total price of $270,720 excluding HST. Because with other incidentals and rebated tax, the amount of the commitment for this project would be over $300,000, which is council's approved budget. Then we're before council committee this evening. April council did give committee authority to award. Should council committee wish to proceed, it's a 12-week project that would start on June 15th. And the total commitment anticipated is $325,000. I will mention, I'm sure some councillors are wondering who is Humphreys Landscape. We did do a little bit of background checking. They do work for Halifax Regional Municipality and are on a standing offer for them as well. So we're certainly comfortable with the experience that they bring to the table, and we're recommending the award to Humphreys Landscape and Construction Limited.
Thank you, Michelle. Is any, okay, Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'll move that council award the tender for the replacement of 595 meters of sidewalk along Birch Street between East Prince Street, Spruce Drive, and Salmon River to Humphreys Landscape Construction Limited for a total contract amount of $270,720 excluding HST, with an anticipated total project value of $325,000.
Thank you. We have a seconder, seconded by Mayor Blair. Any further discussion on the motion? Any further discussion? You ready for the question? Question's been called. Who's open? Voting is closed, and we have a unanimous in favor. Thank you very much, council. Mr. Martell, returning to the table. Our next item is number 7, MacElmon Roundabout and servicing. And I believe, Michelle, you're going to take this one? Okay.
Yes, I am. Thank you, Madam Chair. I will go through the first bit of the item, and then there are some economic development implications, and Jen will kind of speak at that point as well. So this item has been before council many times. It's to provide an update on the status of the proposed roundabout on MacElmon Road into Birch, and to get some direction from council on a go-forward plan. And so this proposed roundabout has been on the radar, council's radar, for 10 years now. You can see the proposed location in your item. So the intent of this roundabout is to create an intersection so that we can open up highway frontage and create new roads going east of Weston MacElmon along the highway, and sell off some of those lands that we own there. In the schematic in your item, you'll see there are a couple of large parcels of land. The ones in light green, they have been cleared archaeologically, with the exception of the red circles there are no-go zones based on some archaeological finds there. And so because MacElmon Road is owned by the province, all along it's been under their jurisdiction as to what type of intersection they would require there. And for a number of years, their position has been it needs to be a roundabout, and it can't be a traditional intersection, either a simple stop or with traffic lights. So mainly delays in the project have been caused by the archaeological studies. In the end, the intent was to create a 2-lane roundabout. That's too big to fit within the buffers that you see on your in your item. So we did transition to a 1-lane roundabout, appropriate for long combination vehicles as well. And we tendered that work in June of 2025. And if council recalls, the tenders came in at 4.7 million, which was quite a bit in excess of council's approved $3 million budget. So at the time, council elected not to proceed with the award of the tender. And around the same time, the province indicated that, well, perhaps maybe they would be open to a simple intersection if we wanted to submit that for consideration. So we did retain designers to design an intersection for that location. In the end, the intersection simply won't work because of wait times and queuing times. Traffic would back up onto the overpass during shift changes and rush hour. People waiting to get onto MacElmon would have a 5 to 10 minute wait to turn onto the road there. So we dug into it further. The intersection can't work even with signals, and so we are back to the roundabout being a requirement to open up some of those highway frontage lands. And so now we're looking for some direction on, where to go from here. Council's 5-year capital budget does include $6 million for this fiscal, and that would be for construction of the roundabout and also for construction of about half a kilometer of those 2 highway frontage roads to open up the lands. The price could be somewhere between 6 and 7 million now, but we're in that ballpark for sure. And so maybe now I'll turn it over to Jen to speak a bit on the economic development perspective of the project.
Jen, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just to provide council with a little bit of, an overview of potential return on this project's investment. So the lands that we have available to us along the highway would essentially create roughly 6 to 7 lots based on the schematics that we have at hand today. Conservatively, we'd look at, this is again an estimate. I did do kind of a regional scan to get a sense of what's selling with the particular amenities on these lands, considering that it's prime highway commercial frontage and they'd be service lots. So we'd look at approximately $150,000 per acre, which could result in approximately 3.6 million in future municipal land sale. Of course, more highly visible lots, or if we were to go and, clear the lots, create them to be pad ready, they could go for much higher as well. So there's good potential return on the land sale opportunity. In addition to that, there's definitely some significant long-term revenue through commercial tax revenue. Based on kind of some preliminary assumptions, the site could support a commercial assessment value exceeding $10 million. So looking at some sort of gas station, gas bar, commercial, retail, food service and amenities. This would be at full build out, of course, but in theory could approximately generate roughly 300,000 to 400,000 in annual municipal tax revenue, based on current taxation rates, of course. Even just kind of a phase one alone, looking at a proposed gas station and gas bar, that would be, roughly 4.5 million in commercial assessment value. So even kind of a phase one build out, there's a good return on the opportunity. I'll also note that this project very much would improve the competitiveness and marketability of DeBert Business Park at large. Michelle mentioned that it's kind of a primary project that's been on the docket now for quite some time, understanding the importance of visibility from the highway. It just allows, opportunity to understand that there's a business park and we're open for business in that area. I'll note that if council does want to proceed, there's an opportunity to issue some sort of request for expression of interest or some sort of, understanding to really target sector specific opportunities and get a sense of, can we validate if there's market demand here and just provide greater certainty on kind of this anticipated return or proposed return on investment. So that could be done, sooner than later. We do have schematics and enough information to pose this to businesses to get a sense on interest and start to put some letters of intent in front of council if that's the route they should choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Is anyone prepared to put a motion on the floor? Councillor Benmont.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that council committee recommends council that the tendering for a new single lane roundabout on MacElmon Road, including new highway frontage roads, proceeds in early 2027.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Patton. Any further discussion on Councillor Leggett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to ask some latitude in the question department here. As what the special term is for more than two questions. I guess my first question is, I'm not in favor of this. I wasn't last year. I haven't seen anything that's changed my mind so far this year. Looking at the plans for this roundabout and LCVs in particular, tightest corner is heading north through to MacElmon Road from the overpass. It's a very tight corner and the buffers that delineate the lanes be very tight. I didn't realize, according to DOT, it takes a 50-meter center for an LCV roundabout to be compliant. There's 32 meters of circumference or center of radius in the center of this roundabout now with 3-meter buffer around it, which is a ramp. My concern about that is Ritchie Brothers being a large operation, those ramp areas and floats don't get along very well. As you look at a lot of them, they get torn up because the side frames on floats are 3 or 4 or 5 inches off the ground. I asked a question at the Birch Industrial Park meeting over somewhere back in the wintertime. If the corner north of here up by GFL was LCV compliant, I never got an answer on that. It takes a long amount of room to turn an LCV. I've never driven one, but I have. Some people do know I do drive truck on occasion. And this on the plans, it says LCV compliance level 30 meters. The only way you can have a 30-meter LCV compliant vehicle is to have a 40-foot container and a 20-foot container. 30 meters being 100 feet, you can make that work. Most LCVs are twin 53-foot trailers, which are 16 meters long, 2 meters in between. That's 32, 35 just in trailers. And if you add another 4 to 5 meters for a tractor, you're into 40 meters, which is the standard length, longest length available. Jason can probably back me up on this. As far as permit allowabilities on LCVs, so appears to me the roundabout in its configuration could be shy. I don't know that for a fact, but it's my opinion. I was fortunate enough the other day to go to Moncton to get a load in Caledonia Park. And if you take an exit off Trans-Canada Highway into Caledonia Park, you don't turn 300 feet down the road to those service lots on the face of the highway. You go back into Bayview, Kenworth. It's probably 500 meters or better, 600 meters off the Trans-Canada Highway. There are better places to service those back lots. in my opinion, Lysander being one of them. It's already a street in there. What we're paying, $92,000 for archaeological and $7 million for this roundabout doesn't add up in my business case. Sell off the lots along the side of MacElmon Road as open front, go in behind them like they do in Moncton. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leggett. Councillor Fletcher, please.
I'm not for this as well, and if my opinion is, I know it would help the Birch Business Park, but if we took this money and put it into the airport, if we're gonna revitalize the runways to repay, or or whatever to repave, I think this money would be better off put into that airport, especially with the water bombers there, or the fire. Have their planes there now or whatever. I think it would be a great, or a good asset to divert to work on that runway and kind of push this back a little bit.
Thank you. I'm wondering if our Director of Public Works could comment on accessing those lots from in behind. Is that an option we've explored?
Through the chair, we haven't looked at the design of the intersection at Lysander. We would have to do that. Also, when we go up and behind Ritchie Brothers, those lands are not archaeologically cleared. And so that will be another obstacle, I guess, and another cost to clearing a road to go up and around. If council wishes to explore that further, certainly they can ask staff to do that.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Cooper.
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Thank you to Michelle. So Michelle, the two red spots on the map there that are archaeologically not done, are they not able to be done, or is it, or you just don't want to spend money?
Through the chair, so currently there have been fines on those lots, and we do have the option to intensify additional digs to see if we find anything else. But there's a risk to that because we could continue digging and spend more money and still find that the lots cannot be cleared. And maybe Jen might be able to answer more specifically because she coordinated the work, but I believe that's the case, is we could spend more money to intensify, but still no guarantee that those would be cleared.
Jen, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's correct. And I believe too, CRM advised that, we might just want to stop at where we are, understanding the sensitivity in that area.
Thank you.
So it's a follow-up question,
Yes, okay.
and then please. So you definitely can't clear them then. It's not a matter of money, it's just, they just can't be cleared.
Through the chair. No, we could proceed with intensifying the testing. It's just the unknown at this point in time. But this has been identified as a more hot spot or an area of significance where they suspect that findings are going to be. So the suggestion is, in working with the Divert Special Places Act, that our future archaeology work is done in areas that we really don't suspect there to be further findings. It is possible that we could continue work in the area though, if it's of interest to invest further, to try and get those buffers to be smaller.
Because I agree with, seems awful small what's being talked about here, talk to people too. So if we could take care of the spot on the left, it seems like we can build a lot more appropriate. Probably, all that way. But I'm kind of worried when we get things out there too. So. Yeah, I'd be interested in all, rough idea how much it would be for the part on the left. I think that would give it to us. Doing the part on the right. So, not really in agreement. Proven way this so.
Councillor Benwell, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Michelle, can you comment a bit on what Councillor Leggett had mentioned about if it is doable? I mean, I know that you've probably done all the studies and things, but I don't want to get into something if it's going to cause us issues down the road, and I'm not an expert on truck traffic and things like that. So I'm kind of following the lead of of the experts, but if this is something we're gonna do, I don't really want to prolong it much longer because this has been talked about for at least 10 years. And the cost is just gonna keep rising, so I'm concerned about that. And I know that this is something that is needed in regards with like the amenities with the whether we do a truck stop there. I mean, that's been waited on now for a long time from all the drivers that are coming in and out of the park and needing a place to pull over and things like that. And I mean, that could fix a lot of issues in that area. And then food services, we've got a lot of businesses out there that could really benefit from having something other than Tim Hortons out there. So I would like to see something happening there, but obviously I want to make sure that we're doing the proper things. And I agree with Councillor Fletcher. It would be good to use that money towards the airport. That's another hot topic out there. We need to fix those runways. I'm in full agreement with that, and I'm hoping that, I know that will be coming back to council. I did ask about the water bombers, if that's a concern, if they are aware of that, and Jen had said that they were aware of it. There was conversation. They didn't have any concerns, but I mean, we do have other pilots that are out there that I do have concerns about as well. So I'd like to see both projects going ahead, but I just want to know, sorry, long-winded, but I'm just wondering if you can respond to what Councillor Leggett had mentioned. Thank you.
Michelle, please.
Through the chair, so we did ask the engineers to design the roundabout for a long combination, acknowledging that, yes, they will have to drive over part of the island based on the tight space there. And so it is LCV compatible with, coming off the lane and onto the island in that case.
Right, thank you.
And another follow-up if I can. And what about over near not GFL in that area? Is there any issues going into that corner?
Through the chair, I did ask area manager Chris Verge, and his indication was that the road is designed for LCV. So he didn't flag any issues there.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know it came to council back last year when we looked at the costs, and I'm talking about Lysander here. I'm in a Lysander probably 150 to 200 times a year myself. It's a terrible road. That's another story. But if we did go in, Councillor Leggett said, through Lysander around the backside of Ritchie's back, I remember seeing a dollar figure last year because we'd have to archaeological clear those sites also, and that's not included in this plan here. And something tells me that was 1.2 or $2.2 million to clear those lands to come around the backside. So I think we should talk about that now if we want to get access to those portions of land along the 104. And it is a busy strip of highway in Nova Scotia, so it is great visibility. But the question is that how much additional cost will it be to come in the backside of Lysander to service those lots in the front if we don't put a roundabout in and come in off MacElmon? Do you remember right off, Michelle, how much that was? I don't, but I know it was a large amount.
Through the chair, I don't recall the total to do archaeology in and around. Jen would know. Now that would have been to clear all of the lands, which would be a different number than clearing enough for a road, I guess. But maybe I'll ask if Jen has any recollection.
It was estimated, of course, an estimate, but it was $97,500 per acre. So the total cost was, I think, upwards of 6 or 7 million, I think, for the total area. But we wouldn't have to do the entirety of the area. So roughly 100,000 an acre.
Right. Do you have a follow-up, Councillor Johnson?
No. Answer my question.
All right, so Councillor Weatherby, please.
Thank you. Through the chair to Michelle. We've missed the opportunity to do the construction this year, have we not? We're looking
Through
at
the chair, yes.
27.
Yes, we have. We would have wanted to tender in January or February, and so we'd be doing it that next year.
Is there an option to delay this until we had some more information so that we could be in line for that construction season? With more answers to the questions that have been raised tonight?
Through the chair, yes. So we do have
Go
some
ahead.
time if council wishes for staff to come back with more information on specific items. And certainly if you want to clarify exactly what you're looking for, then we could do that.
I think a delay might be more in order.
Our CAO, please.
Thank you very much. So through the chair. So as Michelle started out tonight, this has been kind of back and forth across the table multiple times. So while it's in front of you with the recommendation that you have, certainly any item council has the purview to table the item if you're looking for it to come back. So if there are more questions than answers, and because of a scenario that hasn't been decided, you can either you could vote for or against the motion tonight. Another motion could be put on the table or an amendment to the motion, or you could table. So I just want council to understand you have multiple options that would be in front of you if there's a different direction you wish to go forward.
And as I understand it, this motion doesn't commit us to spend any money. It's just tendering to see what the interest is out there in the marketplace for building and what the price might be. So what is council's wishes? Do you want to continue? We have a motion on the floor. Forget who made it, but Councillor Benoit. She could rescind the motion, correct?
So I guess first of all, the question is there a desire to amend that motion or keep that motion on the floor? Or is the desire at this point for council to request to table it, which it would come back?
Councillor Patton.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention that I prefer that we table it to get more information from staff.
Councillor Cooper.
So do we need a second for that or I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Cooper. Councillor Benoit.
Okay, so are we canceling the first motion and we're doing a new motion to table it, or? I'm trying to-
So the motion, thank you, sorry, through the chair. So if you're tabling a motion, what you're basically saying is at this point, you won't be voting on it tonight. And that it would come back to the table. Now, your same motion is coming back. It just does give the opportunity to answer some of the questions that have been asked here tonight.
Okay, so through you to Dan, so we're gonna table it for now. The questions that have been raised tonight, staff will come back with some clarification to answer.
So through the chair, yes. So as I understand it, right at this moment, Councillor Patton and Councillor Cooper, I think it said.
Yes.
They would like to see it tabled. If council votes to do that, then effectively it would be tabled tonight. So it actually, at this moment, you're just essentially delaying the vote until future time.
Okay.
Right, does everybody understand? All right, so the motion is to table. Oh, sorry, Councillor Rampell.
Okay, question for clarification. So if we're tabling the motion that was read, and then we're not giving staff direction on what specifically to bring back or when to bring it back or how to bring it back, then bringing it back in its entirety would be the same thing. So do we need to give a certain direction for that?
CAO, please.
Thank you. So through the chair, at this moment in time, what the assumption would be is you would bring it back for the next available meeting. So normally when you table motion, it comes back as quick as possible. Now, if direction was given for more than that, there is other consideration, but without making it complex, what we would do is we would bring it back next month for it to be discussed at committee again with some more information based on the discussion here.
Okay, and back to Councillor Martell's comment, do we need a specific motion asking staff to provide further information about different options?
Through the chair, so no, the tabling of it with a series of questions implies that council is looking for a broader conversation than the one that was had here tonight.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
fine.
Who's red light? Councillor Leggett.
Madam Chair, so can we submit a list of questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
No, so basically, if there is specifics that you would like to clarify more than tonight, please send them to me.
Okay.
But the intention would be based on the discussion tonight, we would try to circle back on the questions that were brought forward tonight. But if you have specifics, please bring them forward.
Okay.
All right. Councillor Martel, well, this was flashing, so I think. Councillor Martel, please.
Okay, thank you. So, through the chair to Michelle, my concern over the current design would be that, and I understand how much work went into the planning of that, is that we would move forward with a $7 million investment plus the extras that would be done. And then we still wouldn't have what we need for the growth that is anticipated within the business park. And I understand the complexities of, you know, we want to invest in the airport, we want to invest in the business park, and the two of them need to grow really together. So for me, as far as questions on how that can move forward, if there's any way that can, you know, make it a better intersection or roundabout where trucks don't have to drive over the center of it and that it's going to service the growing need, then I could support the several $1 million investment. But at this point, I just feel like we would be building something that would be good for part of what we have, but not the full vision for our future.
Thank you, Councillor Martel. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, you ready for the question? Question's been called. Are we going to put it up? Motion to table is the motion. Yeah. You okay with that, Tracy? Okay. You up on screen? And the voting's open. Let's vote. Not yet. There we go. Vote now. Okay. Close, and it's one not in favor and 11 in favor. The motion carries. Sorry, the motion has been tabled until next committee meeting. That was, ooh, so that was a fun one. All right, thank you, Michelle. And Jen, our next item is the on-site water supply and septic program, and our Director of Corporate Services will walk us through this, please, Scott.
Thanks, Deputy. This is a follow-up from an info item that council received last winter. And it was with respect to, at the time, well water supply and financing it through the municipality. At the time, you'll recall, we did report back that other municipalities sometimes do opt to have a well and septic program. But at that time, we didn't get any direction from council. It was just an info item. So in order to proceed with the program, we were going to develop a bylaw that puts a process in place for residents in the municipality. So before we go too much further with actually crafting a bylaw for council's consideration, we wanted to take an action item here and see if it was something council did want to proceed with, or if they chose not to. It's completely up to council whether or not a program like this is to be implemented. One thing I did want to mention, with a program like this, where it is a financing program, it does form a first lien on properties. So there's typically a recovery process through things like the tax sale if somebody defaults. And also we try to make sure when we do a program like this that it isn't being subsidized by the general public. So if somebody gets a example and they finance it through their tax billing process, there's an interest component so that you know, their neighbor isn't helping them pay for it. Other than that, you know, there are 3 options available. Council could proceed with going forward with a bylaw, and if that's the case, we'll come back with a draft bylaw for council. The other option would be status quo, so we would continue on the way we are now with no program in place. In terms of recommendation, I did put some parameters around this for you to consider. So if we were to proceed, we'd look at a bylaw implemented with a maximum of $25,000 towards homeowner well replacement or septic replacement. And then we would also put in a stipulation around interest. So I mentioned here the Bank of Canada overnight rate plus 3%, and the maximum duration for a loan would be 10 years. I think that's generally it. If there were any questions, I could try to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that council committee directs staff to proceed with a bylaw to establish a program for well and septic financing for council consideration, and I'd like to speak on it.
All right, we have seconded by Councillor Cooper, and you turned your mic off.
Sorry.
You can put it back on. Thank you, Councillor Patton. Oh, Councillor Leggett got ahead of you. Yeah, there we go. Councillor Patton.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I've had a few residents reach out and considering the drought that we had last summer, they're already nervous, so I'm very pleased to see this. I do have one question through you to Scott. Will there be a set of guidelines, Scott, to go with this program? You know, outlining all the parameters and their expectation to pay back and whatnot.
So,
Yeah, I think, you know, first and foremost, the bylaw, we would try to stipulate in there parameters for the program. And then that should cover what we want to do.
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Totally in favor of this. I think it's a great idea. Just have one question, and I don't know the answer to it. How, when you say we have county municipality would have first lien on a property, if subject property had a mortgage against it, how would that be recorded against that mortgage, I guess? Thank you. Just information.
Yeah, when I say that, basically what I mean is it would form the same debt towards the owner as their tax bill. So you know, when taxes are due in the municipality, we have an ability to collect them through the tax sale process. So the bylaw being put in place would have stipulations in there that would make this a first lien, so it would form part of their tax bill. And then if they don't, you know, they often have to pay. They go through the tax sale process, and typically we try to make arrangements with people, but if they can't or refuse to make arrangements, then it goes through the tax sale process.
Solicitor.
Just to further on Scott, so it's a little misleading when you say first lien, because you always have a competitive liens, and the real first lien is CRA. But in general terms, if you don't pay your taxes, you have to give everybody notice, including any mortgage companies. And mortgage companies, if there's any value in the property, are going to pay out the tax arrears and add it to their debt. So there is a process, but it's essentially because it's work. When you do work on the property, so if it's dangerous unsightly or flood work, we put liens on, and just basically communication. Don't be treated like taxes. Taxes fit in the priorities, but mortgages usually, as a covenant, will say you have to pay your taxes, and if they're not paid, then we get to sell the property for all it's worth. But usually mortgage companies will intervene in making sure they're taken care of.
Okay, so my follow-up question, if a person goes into this program, do they have to notify their mortgage company? I guess is where I was trying to get at, I guess, or is there some kind of legal, if you're actually, if the municipality comes first, I guess maybe not by term, but is the creditor, I guess, do they have to report that to their mortgage company because it's against the property? Not like, unlike a loan for a vehicle or a credit card, it's not attached to your property, right? This is now attached to your property?
Dennis?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. I don't know what the mortgage terms are, but it is a covenant. There is a basic covenant. You have to pay your taxes. Usually once a mortgage is in place, they don't come back. If you can run up other debt and it all catches up with you. But I don't think they need approval of a mortgage company.
Okay.
Per se, it would just be a tax bill, and there's a standing covenant in your mortgage that you have to keep your tax account in balance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Councillor Cooper?
You're on track.
You just turned it on.
Shut off.
Shut it off.
Sorry. Try to write something down. Yeah, I totally agree with this too. I think it's a great thing. I think it's time to put it in place before we get to desperate times, rather than after we get to desperate times. And every indication is that whether this year is as bad as last year, it's common sort of thing. So I think that we're doing our due diligence in this whole thing. I just have one question
Sure.
through you to Scott, if I could.
Mhm. Yeah.
So my presumption is, it doesn't say that in the recommendations or anything else right there, but this would only be for people that have houses already, not for new builds or anything like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that.
Oh, was that in there?
That was in the item, yeah.
Okay, I just didn't see the recommendation part there, but that's, yeah. Okay.
All right. Any
All
further
right,
discussion
thank you.
on the motion? Question's been called. All in favor? Vote. Pretty soon.
Hear you.
Oh, now. Voting is closed. And everybody is in favor, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Okay, the next item is the East Mountain Sewer Boundary, and Michelle Boudreau, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The purpose of this item is to seek approval for the creation of a new sewer boundary on Pictou Road in East Mountain. So for the portion of Pictou Road that's beyond Jollytown Road and out to Kemptown. In 2013, a new sewer line was extended from Jollytown Road to Kemptown. And the purpose of the line at the time was to bring leachate into our main sewage collection system. And before that time, for those councillors who were not here at the time, we were trucking leachate to our main facility in Truro every day. And so at the time, the installation of the line was actually economically a better choice. In April of 2017, staff did propose to council that we should create a sewer boundary along this sewer line, which would be consistent with how we deal with any properties fronting on sewer lines in other areas of the municipality. At the time, council declined to implement a sewer boundary with the logic that the line had been created for leachate and perhaps unfair to have the residents along the line pay an area rate for the construction and maintenance of that line, but that if people wanted to connect, they could, and those individuals who were connected would pay the rate, and the other properties would not pay the sewer rate. Now, with council's recent adoption of new countywide planning, in order for us to properly process subdivisions that front on the sewer line, in particular where they're asking for a denser development, we do need to create now a sewer boundary to guide how we process any developments along Pictou Road in East Mountain. And so attached to your item, you'll find a map that shows the proposed boundary. There are some gaps in the boundary, and those are sections where we only have force main, and so people would not be allowed to connect anyway. Should council approve the creation of this boundary, then any properties that fall within the boundary would now pay the sewer area rate, which is 12 cents total, 9 cents for maintenance, and 3 cents for capital. So this is before council for their consideration.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Leggett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm prepared to make a motion
Right.
on this one. I'd like to speak on it.
Sure.
There is the verbiage. Staff recommend that the sewer service boundary along Pictou Road, Highway 4 in East Mountain be adopted as presented.
Here.
Oh, wait a minute here. No, sorry. All right, sorry about that. The council committee recommends to council that the proposed sewer service boundary for the East Mountain along Pictou Road and Highway 4 from Jollytown Road to Mingo Road be adopted as presented. Thank you.
Seconder, Councillor Kennedy seconded the motion. Councillor Leggett, do you want to speak to this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
This must be my night. Thank you, Madam Chair. Through to Michelle. A couple of questions. Will these will these areas now be serviced by streetlights?
Michelle, please.
Through the chair, so under our current streetlight policy, any sewer serviced areas get streetlights on every second pole in the urban area where they're paying the streetlight rate. In this case, if we're only adding the sewer service rate, they wouldn't automatically get streetlights, but certainly if council wishes to have the streetlight rate added as well, then that can be another discussion as well. So in Valley, for example, people pay the urban service rate, which includes sewer and streetlights. In this case, the 12 cents is only for sewer.
Right, I guess that's probably more of a developer question then, because it's mostly rental properties up along there, so. I know we talked about spending millions of dollars for economic development in other parts of the county, but as it stands right now, Brook Roll is developing a lot of land up in that area. And I'm curious, he mentioned to me that he can't go hooked into the sewer. And from that lower portion of Mingo Road to Stevens Crossroads, it shows as a pressure sewer, but I see no lift station in the area. Is that like a gravity pressure system?
Michelle, please.
Through the chair, so when we come down Mingo Road and turn right onto Pictou for a fair bit, there's actually a pressure siphon there. And so that
Okay.
we wouldn't allow connection there.
All right, so given this person's developing 30+ acres into industrial property and he poured it, you know, an 80 by 60 pad yesterday for industrial buildings. Having that kind of acreage serviced by septic systems kind of puts you back in the same predicament we were in when when App Central Drive was built in Onslow, and they were all in septic tanks when they first started, then we ended up putting sewer in for them. So is there any provision or advice we can give these people that are trying to increase our commercial tax base in the area without going backwards, I guess? How do we get these facilities onto the gravity portion of this system? Thank you.
Michelle, please.
Through the chair, I guess I'm not quite understanding the question. Ultimately, if Councillor Leggett's asking about creating gravity sewer there, that would be a capital project council could consider. You know, putting in a lift station is $500,000, and so there is certainly a cost associated with creating a gravity section, which is ultimately what the siphon went in the first place.
And
I'm not sure if that answers your question or not, but you know, it would have to become a capital project that council would have to discuss.
yeah, and I totally get that. It would have to be a lift station. I think it would have to be on the developer's part to force into the force main. That'd be something, because it is on his side of the road as well, correct?
Through the chair, so within the siphon section, we still wouldn't allow a pressure connection. You know, ultimately, if a developer wants to install a lift station and create gravity sewer, and we would take it over, we would allow that so long as it's built to our standards. So certainly if Mr. Cole wants to have a discussion with us about what servicing would look like for that, then we can help him kind of decide if he thinks it's something he would want to tackle or not.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cooper.
Yeah. Thank you. Through you to Michelle, I guess, please.
Yes.
So Michelle, the people, like when we did the system out in Onslow, that was because the sewers weren't working. Yeah, we had to step up and take care of the situation up there, so I took care of that. I'm presuming all these people's sewers are working, nobody's coming forward. Ones that would have any problem becoming forward to hook up, so there's still a significant number of people that are not hooked up.
Through the chair, so yes, this is not being driven by people with malfunctioning septics, which was the case for the Onslow sewer. You're correct. Yes, there would still be people living along there who have septic tanks or septic fields that are functioning as well and may not choose to hook up, I suppose.
So if they don't hook up, gonna be charged or still or not?
Yes, they would be charged if they're in the boundary, correct?
Yes, yeah, I have a significant problem with that for a couple of reasons. One is we did significant discussion on this when it was done. And one of the reasons we decided not to put the people on was just because of that. They had septic and
give them the opportunity to come on if they wanted to, but that was it. We're talking now, we're gonna put them on there because it was rezoned. I guess my question would be, when this rezoning was being talked, were these people, was it mentioned to these people that they could be, this could happen to them? Or is this going to totally blindside them now that they're gonna be, because of rezoning, they're gonna be forced to pay this rate?
Through the chair, through the planning process, maybe that's a question for Paul. I can't quite tell if he's in the room as to whether or not that came up in the discussions.
Yeah, there, Paul?
Well, thank you to the chair, to councillor. The zoning process doesn't sort of determine what areas are in or outside of the area rate. Where it does come into play is that if the service is available and it's being used, you can generally go with smaller lot sizes, reduced frontages than for service lots than you would or could with septic systems.
So to get back to my question, people that have the houses there now, septics there now, they have had no inkling that this is gonna happen to them.
That zoning was going to happen?
Once they were zoning happened, they'd be starting to be charged this.
Oh, and that's exclusive of the planning process. So
yeah,
we had considerable engagement through the countywide planning process, but that didn't determine whether they were going to be charged or not. It simply meant that if they were applying for permits for uses allowed in the zone, that in cases where lots were serviced, we require less frontage and less area than for lots of the same zone that are serviced by septic.
So it's good for people in the future, but not. So my concern is these people have working sewers they pay for and take care of. Now they're going to be charged to, they can keep their sewers, but they're going to be charged as if they're on the line, sort of thing. And this wasn't something that they had any concept, wasn't, and wouldn't, if I was living there, I'd have no thought of having to go to a zoning meeting to figure out that I should oppose this or have something put in place or whatever to take care of it, sort of thing. So I don't think this is a fair process that people live along there to be forcing this on them. So because of that, I won't be supporting this.
Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Michelle. So Public Works set the boundary limit at 150 meters. How did you come up with 150 meters? I don't call that very long distance. So if I was going to build more than 150 meters and apply with 150. So what's the rationale between 150? What was the magic number there for?
Through the chair. So this is a number that was discussed with Paul and essentially wanted to make sure that a portion of the pit is included in the boundary, and that then enables us to have discussions with the developer about development agreements. And so it was really just a way of capturing the PID to enable those discussions to happen. So wouldn't necessarily mean that only that piece of the PID that's in the boundary would be allowed to be serviced. It enables kind of a larger discussion, I guess, on the serviceability, but maybe Paul would also want to comment on that as well.
Thank you, Deputy. Yeah, it was intended to sort of identify areas that could be developed along the sewer frontage, and without sort of, or I guess, being mindful of the cost, both the costs of sprawl and the sewer line capacity. This would represent one of the most easterly extents of the trunk line, and of course it has consequences downstream as you increase development. So yes, 150 meters seems to be random, but it seemed logical based on the property patterns and sort of the development that could occur along that strip of sewer line.
So I'll follow up if I may, and I'll direct it to Paul. Is there any exceptions to this? Because maybe somebody wants to build a little deeper back and not be seen from the road and have their septic back behind the property as opposed to in front. So if they do want to develop further off the road, are we open to making changes to this if it's 150 in the motion?
Through the chair to you, Councillor. Yes, and I think Michelle has sort of indicated that it does sort of outline an area that, or areas that are capable of being serviced. If somebody wants to opt to do a septic system, I guess they can do that, unless the sewer bylaw prevents it. But generally speaking, it's intended to show what areas can be serviced by a public sewer, which have smaller lot sizes than septic service lots.
So if I follow up, you didn't really answer my question. So my question is, will there be exceptions if it's 150? Or could there be exceptions?
There could be
Okay,
exceptions.
all right,
Yeah.
that's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I'm with Councillor Cooper on this one. And I have a question for Michelle. So if we've already got residents with established septic systems, can we opt to not charge those people and more or less grandfather them in? And so then any new builds are required to hook onto the sewer?
Michelle.
Is that an option?
Through the chair. So this is how it's happening now, is that when somebody comes forward with a new build, then they get added to the rate gets added to their property bill. I think the complication becomes when a developer comes through the door and they're not in the sewer boundary, then that's really the purpose of this item. So if somebody buys a lot, if there's no house on it, they buy a vacant lot, they can either build a single family home, which I guess in the question you're asking, they would put a septic and not pay the rate. But if they're coming through the door and buying this vacant lot for the purpose of development, we won't be able to look at it as sewer service for the purpose of development. And that's where the complication happens. I will also say that in answer to the concern about people on septic paying the rate, when we ran the sewer line from Granville Drive through Onslow to Mingo's Corner, we added a boundary there and everybody got added and everyone pays the rate. So just to flag to council that what we're proposing here is not any different than what happened in Onslow when we extended the sewer line through there. Some people already had septics. Some people chose to connect. Some people chose not to, but they still pay the rate.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Weatherby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Michelle, or maybe Paul, I'm not sure. But following along Councillor Patton's train of thought, or I think that's where she was going, could there not be an exception, because a lot of the new homes and new properties that have been developed out there would have new septics, and they're being charged double if they're charged for septic, which they may not need for 20 years or more. Because if they build a new home and they have a new septic, they likely don't need it. So they're going to pay for another septic over a period of time that they may never use. I could see it if it was new construction of any sort, would have to pay it. But can there not be exceptions for existing properties, especially recently built ones? Say maybe a 10 or a 15 or a 20-year window, or some sort of a grandfather clause. Anyway, could there not be one of those?
It's to Michelle.
Through the chair, and maybe Dennis or Scott would want to comment. Logically or logistically, yes, we can draw the boundary around and take people out who already have a septic if they already have a home. So that is an option. And then everything else is vacant and would be within the boundary. If they then decide to build a single family, they would be required to connect to the sewer, which is no different than any of our other sewer serviced areas. So unless Scott and or Dennis see a legal reason why we can't draw the boundary around those existing homes.
Dennis?
Madam Chair, just clarification, it wouldn't really be drawing the boundary around them. We were just designating pre-existing homes would be exempted from paying area rates unless they connect to the sewer.
Right.
Right.
It's probably within your discretion. I'd have to take a look at the MJ, but it's probably within discretion of council to consider that type of phase in. I mean, if you do it in other areas and they haven't offered, then that would be a policy direction, but I think it's within your discretion to have some sort of phase in like that. But I'd want to spend a bit of time kicking that through to make sure there's not an issue I'm not thinking of.
I'm wondering if this is one we want to table.
Yes.
That would be
Another
my
question.
suggestion.
That's your suggestion.
Because I think it would be a lot fairer to everybody, particularly people who recently built.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Weatherby. CAO, please.
Thank you. So through the chair, just having had somewhat similar discussion to this in other jurisdictions. Typically, the approach is that if a new sewer line goes in, everybody is required to connect within a period of time. And so the allocation of the rate happens, but it will happen. Like there's you won't, it's just a when. But again, that's been some time since I looked at the issue. So I do believe to Dennis's point, I think there's a mechanism. I guess the question would be, if council is deciding, or if committee is deciding to advance this to council, if there is that piece around an exemption, it could still move from committee to council with the discussion of exemption happening at council. But I don't know if that gives the solicitor sufficient time to look at the issue.
Okay.
Maybe Dennis, you want
That's,
to weigh in?
there'll be less time when the Habs go into the third round, but I should be able to fit it in.
Okay. So the idea is to proceed with the motion that's on the floor and with the Councillor Leggett, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Knowing a lot of people that live in this area, most of them have already jumped on the sewer system. There's very few houses on that stretch from Jollytown Road to Mingo Road now that are not on it, and mostly because it is identified as force main sections. I know some people that are on the force main, they can't get on it, but for the most part, it's most people that they can get onto the trunk sewer have. So this would comment.
All right, Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. Since, going on the conversation, not one to want to hold up the development for sure. But this is not a new sewer line, so it's doesn't conversation about the new sewer line and all that kind of stuff doesn't apply here. It is totally different than the one in Onslow. The one in Onslow was not working. That's why we went in and did it. They took septic covers off of septic tanks and in what you saw down there, the words from the septic tank cover were in that. They were in there that long on that card. So it was not working and weren't cleaned out or anything else. So it was done for a whole different purpose than what we're talking about here. These ones are working septic tanks that people should have an opportunity to, if they wish to keep going that way, then that's great, Some point in time, they'll have to make that decision and, do you want to upgrade or do you want to connect up and say properly? So Councillor Leggett said probably most people will eventually all connect up, but meantime, I don't think we should be forcing anybody that's not there. So I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion that anybody that's currently has a home with their own sewer system be grandfathered from paying until they decide to opt out.
Yeah, Dennis, please, before we get a second.
Councillor, I just would ask time to look at it before you put that motion on the table to make sure that it is within, I believe council can do that. I just would want to come back to council and then if the discretion is theirs, I think it is, an amendment would be in order.
So you'll have that for the end of the month. Okay, all right, I'll leave that off right now.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Hmm?
Did you want to continue, Councillor Cooper?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Benoit?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So, would we be tabling this? Because my concern
No.
is that we just went through this about a year ago with the Birch residents putting in a sewer line and they have to pay. There was no talk about grandfathering them in. And now we're gonna grandfather another area potentially, and that's not really fair if we're doing it for one and not the other. Cause I have some residents that were upset about it as well. So if we're doing something like this, I think we have to put it right across the board. We can't just pick and choose which areas are getting grandfathered in.
Thank you. Mayor Blair?
Thank you. And through you to Michelle. At any time, if anyone wanted to connect to the sewer line as it currently exists before our plan came in, they could do so with connection permission, correct? With approved connection.
Through the chair. So yes, before our zoning, they could request a connection and we would approve it on a case by case.
So any new builds could have connected to the sewer line with permission.
Yes, through the chair. And as Councillor Leggett mentioned, most of the new builds out there have connected to the sewer line where they were able already.
Okay. Thank you. Just a point of clarification.
Councillor Cooper?
Just that point of reply to Councillor Benoit's, this is not a new sewer. I always keep pointing that out. This has been there for years. And so people that this was put through are not,
The Birch's not a new sewer line.
why did you have to connect up then? What happened? Sorry.
You got Councillor Leggett?
Thank you, Madam Chair, too, Michelle. So we've been talking about sewer servicing Hudson Street. I'm correct, and we're gonna put laterals into lots. So if somebody wants to connect to this sewer in East Mountain, they're gonna pay $9,000 or $7,000 to the county to get a lateral put in. And on another piece of ground that we're gonna pay to service, that lateral is already gonna be there at the property line. Correct?
Through the chair. So yes, when we install the sewer line on Hudson, we will put in laterals to the lots we are creating. But on Onslow, if people were connecting and there was no lateral, they pay $8,000 now. Sorry, was that your question?
Yes, I guess, yeah, that's kind of the question, because I mean, if I buy a lot from a developer, the lateral goes to the property line, from them building the subdivision, I don't have to pay another $7,000. This line's being put in, the lots were not serviced when the line went by for all these lots, which is understandable. But now the person buying a lot's gonna have to pay $7,000 to $9,000 to put a lateral into the sewer line. That if you were buying a lot from a developer on a sewer service piece of ground, you probably wouldn't have to pay. So bit of a discrepancy there.
So is there any further discussion? The motion? Councillor Benoit?
Thank you. Just for clarification through you. So we're going with the motion that is currently on.
Advance this motion with the view to our solicitor getting more information on whether the MGA gives us the ability to exclude certain properties.
I won't be in favor of that based on others that are, I understand why, and I agree 100% with it, but not while we've had other ones recently that are not getting grandfathered in. That's not fair. So I won't be in support of the motion because of that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? Question's been called. All in favor? Please vote. Then motion carries. Thank you for the good discussion, council. Thank you, Michelle. Paul? Our next item is number 10, council proceedings and committees policy amendments. And Devin, you're going to take this one, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. From time to time, we have to dig out our old council proceedings and committees policy and dust it off and provide a few updates. Usually these are in relation to just some procedural issues or changes to committees or other related policies that have since been added. Also, when we review, we often come across some just minor editorial revisions. Also reflecting the council's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. We also look at inclusive language editing as well when we review policies that come before council. Attached in your package is a copy of the council proceedings and committees policy with proposed changes in red. I'll just kind of quickly review some of the more notable changes that you'll see there. So in section 2C, and that's related to the time, place, date, and notice of meetings, just where that's involving some communication to council. Since we recently added the council correspondence policy, so we just added a brief reference there just to notify perhaps new members of council that there's more information relating to that topic available in another policy. Also, to clarify protocol in relation to recording of information during closed meetings, it's proposed that an addition be made to section 11. So just to review that. So initially it says council shall deliberate in closed meetings only in accordance with section 22 of the Municipal Government Act. So adding on to that, we suggest adding during such closed meetings, the use of recording devices by any person other than the designated recording official is prohibited. No person other than the appointed note taker shall create an official record of proceedings. Personal note taking is permitted solely for individual reference and shall not be circulated or relied upon as an official record. All matters discussed in closed meetings are confidential, and any breach of confidentiality by a member would be in violation of section 7 of the Code of Conduct for Municipal Elected Officials policy. Deletion of section 18C. I think it was Tracy that came up with this or flagged this one. It just didn't make sense when we read it over. It's just kind of an unnecessary item. This one says a motion to adjourn shall always be in order except in the following cases. We suggested removing when adjournment was the preceding motion. Just seems to be a unnecessary item that can be deleted. In the committees of council section in section 20B, those changes just reflect the change of standing committees of council from 11 to 12, and that's with the addition of the Divert Water Utility Committee. And also there's an addition of sections 66 to 68, and those are just the items in relation to terms relating to the Divert Water Utility Committee. And further on, to align with other council policies and best practice, it's proposed that we change the last two sentences of 20G regarding authority to remove a committee member. And essentially that's right now when adding a committee, council has authority to add committee members. So it just for best practice, it was suggested that it be changed so that the nominating committee refers, if you're going to remove someone from the committee, the nominating committee makes that recommendation to council. So that's essentially what that section is. Changes proposed there. And further, Tittamook Water Utility in section 44, just some minor changes to the wording there. So Tittamook Water Utility Committee shall be comprised of the mayor, the deputy mayor, or alternate council member is the proposed change there. the counselor whose council district includes the area. And section 45 changed to the area councillors, just providing some more clarification with regard to that. Further on, you'll just see these are again just minor clarifications specifying in section 47C that it's the municipality's director of public works as opposed to potentially the provincial director, and adding in there as well the director of community development in that section for the flood advisory committee. For source water protection advisory, again, similar clarifications with regard to the municipality's director of public works, and also just change of the department of environment and climate change. So just a change to that. And further into Birch Business Park Advisory Committee, section 58C shall consist of 3 other members of council appointed by council. So that was a change that was made previously. So just an update from previous motion of council. So those are the main changes that I thought I'd point out. We have had input from Tracy, who's our office Google, and provided some keen eyes to this document, as well as our solicitor also reviewed provided input. Staff recommends the adoption of the amended policy as presented, but we're any questions or?
Thank you, Devin. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that council committee recommends to council that amendments to the council proceeding and committee's policy be approved as presented, and I'd like to speak.
Sure. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Benwell. Go ahead, Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. I hadn't realized, I'm specifically speaking to section 11. I hadn't realized that recordings were being made during closed meetings, so I'm glad to see that we're clarifying this language. It better reflects the understanding that I had, and I thought we all shared, and appreciate that we're taking the steps to ensure we're all on the same page with this moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Benwell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a typo, I believe, under Birch Water Utility Committee, number 68, says the duties of the committee shall be to make recommendations to council on policy, budget, and regulatory compliance matters related to the Tattamagush Water Utility. I believe it should be Birch.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. Now, Councillor Martel.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Devin on this incredible piece of policy, and I was really, really pleased to see the council correspondence policy being added to the update. That's fantastic. Also, I very much appreciate the very thoughtful update to the pronouns, and certainly coming on as a new councillor when I was first in office, this was a meaningful piece of good governance and had very helpful policies that I have referred to on many occasions. And in reading through this, I'd like to offer some suggestions on strengthening this policy, where in part 3, it talks about the council committees and that members of council would be appointed to council committees and list the 12 of them. But there isn't a mention that councillors would be appointed to external boards and an acknowledgement of that, how long council members may be appointed with terms on those external boards or committees. And some of those would be the Truro Colchester Chamber of Commerce, the library, the new Central Nova Scotia Tourism Development Association, and of course the Central Nova Scotia Civic Center. So there's no mention in this that council may appoint members to external boards. So just recognizing that it's a practice that we're doing, but it's not mentioned in the policy. And also, under number 11, and I've had a conversation with our CAO in the past about this, particularly about sharing in-camera information. So, potentially if someone is sitting on a council committee or an external board and they're sharing information that was from that board or committee in camera, in camera at council, there's no real mention of saying that, you know, that is a forbidden practice as well. So just looking at that through the lens of tightening up the policy even a little bit more, those would be a couple suggestions that I have.
Thank you.
I guess the chair is asking the question about what we should do. So at this moment, we have a motion. And and I guess the question would be, there's an amendment proposed because of a typo. So if the first and seconder would agree to the amendment for the typo, but then I guess if there is further work to be done, either A, you can move this forward as it stands with the request that it would come back again sooner for further amendments. Or you would potentially vote against it tonight. So those are your ways forward.
So I guess I'll ask the mover and seconder, are you okay with the amended that Councillor Benoit brought forward, the change? Remove Tadmaguch into the Divert Water Utility. Are you guys you're okay with that? An amended motion?
Yes, but wasn't there more? It has to be done separately. Oh, separate. Okay, yes, I'm fine with that.
You're okay with that? And seconder, you're okay with that? Right, so are we ready to vote on that amended motion? And that is just to clean up the mention of Tadmaguch in the page. All right, ready for the question?
Question.
Yes. Being is open.
Fingers broken, I think.
Another one.
No, we're.
Strange.
As
So how do you vote, Councillor Weatherby?
I vote in favor.
In favor, all right. So I vote technology. Voting's closed and it is unanimous in favor. So did you want to bring another motion forward to direct staff to consider changes?
Through you to the CIO, would I need to, like, now that it's been voted on with the amendment, then technically it's been approved. So what would be the appropriate path if council wanted to tighten it further by the suggestions that were made?
So through the chair, so first, tonight is being approved to take it to council. So there's still a step there. And certainly at council, there could be a request made for staff to bring this back within a certain period of time or more quickly than our typical review with these items to be considered. So at council, direction could be given if the motion passes under this current plan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dan. All right, the next item is number 11, proclamation request, Truro Junior and Senior A Bearcats, and I believe Mayor Blair and Councillor Johnson were contacted by Brown. Do you want to speak to this, either of you?
Thank you, Deputy. Yes, we received a call from, I received a call from Debbie Brown and asked that proclamation be done for each of these two teams to recognize their success with the Hollingsworth Cup Championship for the Truro Senior A Mosaic Bearcats and the Truro Junior A Bearcats that won the 2025-26 Maritime Hockey League Championship. And that was basically all that we received. And we put proclamations together through our deputy clerk, and they are on table for consideration.
Thank you.
So I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that council committee approves proclamations for the Truro Senior A Mosaic Bearcats Hollingsworth Cup Championship and the Truro Junior A Bearcats 2025-26 Maritime Hockey League Championship as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Richardson. Any discussion on the motion? Question's been called. It'll be up on screen. Please vote. It's closed. And it's unanimous. Certainly cheer on the Bearcats as they go on to the next level over in Summerside.
Yes.
Okay, our next item is the Rath Eastlink Community Center Award of RFP Engineering Services. And Dan, would you mind going through this?
Sure. Thank you very much. So through the chair to committee, back in February, a facility condition assessment, what RFP went out looking for engineering services. So folks will recall that the operating agreement, when the changes were made, that each October, the two municipal units and the rec center come together, talk about a 5-year plan or multi-year plan that then allows you to drive your February capital plan. And so since no full facility assessment was done, there certainly is a long list of items that have been put forward by the build committees at the rec over the years. The reality is, though, all of the systems not only need to be looked at from a life cycle, but they need to be looked at what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. I'm sure council probably also recalls that there was a request by the board at the rec back in September of 25 to ensure that funding was available if a chiller was going to be purchased. So 320,000 roughly was approved by both Truro Council and Colchester Council for the capital purchase of an item that did not include the design services or how that chiller would work with the other systems within the building. So it was meant to be a front end piece. Quite frankly, more along the lines if there was some kind of a failure of the multi-stack, but also recognizing there still needed to be a back end on this, that something procured could have a lead time of up to 6 months if you don't have design work underway and ready to kind of put it in when everything's done. So the facility assessment went out on the street for request in February. We had 8 proponents respond, and the top 3 of those, East Point Engineering, DRSA, and MCA, with the high score and the lowest cost being East Point Engineering. The rec board made a recommendation to accept the proposal from East Point Engineering, and it's gone to the town of Truro as well, and they've accepted the recommendation. So this is here tonight before Colchester for consideration, that council at the end of the month to council committee recommend to council to support the rec board's decision to award the facility condition assessment to East Point Engineering for $40,828. The request for proposals was, I believe, attached. And the intention would be that by the end of August, we would have a full facility report. I will point out, though, that there was a 2-week extension of the RFP. So it could be that September would be the time when we would get the report, but the intention is a full report would come back for the rec board and for both council's consideration, which would drive what we're looking at a 5-year capital plan. But the facilities review, more importantly, would be first item, second item, third item that need to be fixed, recognizing not just single components, but how they work in the system that we have, and how, from a perspective of what really needs to be done, life cycle and in the system, to make the facility work better. So that's what we bring forward tonight.
Thank you for that explanation. Is anybody prepared to make a motion there, Blair?
Thank you. Yes, I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that council committee recommends to council support for the rec board's decision to award the facility condition assessment to East Point Engineering for $40,828.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Richardson. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Mayor Blair, do you want to speak further to this? Councillor Martel?
Thank you. Just for clarification through you to the CIO, when we're using the word, council support, that clarification I'm looking for, so we're not being asked to fund or cover that cost, but because it's within our operating agreement that we would have to approve third-party contracts, that the support is actually just agreeing with that board's decision, but we are not being asked to fund it.
Thank you through the chair. So, first and foremost, it is part of the operating agreement that we collectively come up with a multi-year capital budget. And based upon what we have, we don't have the information or the ability to do that at this moment. So something is kind of needed to inform that. Second, you are correct that the intention would be that that all of this information is really goes back so that the board can then fully discuss and implement each year's capital plan that they bring forward. But in addition, a change in the operating agreement that occurred was that the information needed to go and procure the services and the procurement of the services is no longer done through a bill committee. It's actually done through the municipal units. So I know that's a lot of but it is part of where we are. So the intention would be that this is this service is a board expenditure, but both municipal units, because it is a contract, need to agree, and that it is definitely a necessity for all the parties, including Colchester County, to be able to meet an obligation under the operating agreement.
Thank you.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just looking for clarification as well. I know we're identified here as the town and the county, but when you actually go into the RFP, it's solely talking about the town. And it even mentions the town, sorry, I need to get to there, no obligation, and it's only the town mentioned there. So where does that leave us as far as the county? And, I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
I have one more question. I might as well combine it all to. So this $40,000, like I noticed up here, it says the town of Truro will offer support through technical resources, but we're still splitting that $40,000 with the town, correct?
Through the chair. So the first part of this is that for efficiency, this went out through the town of Truro procurement, and obviously went on the provincial procurement through that mechanism. And so we were part of the review of it, but because the document went out under the town, they had to use their language and control it, essentially going out the door, recognizing it was identified that there were two owners here that ultimately at the end of the day were procuring a service. The second part of this is that as a municipality, we and the town of Truro will be driving the procurement and driving the timeline for the work to be done. So, which is a change from the previous operating agreement. And our technical team, as well as Truro technical team, reviewed the documents that came in, and would be offering support to the engineering team doing the review. So while the document reads Town of Truro, it is meant to be, essentially an equal effort. The cost sharing ultimately comes down at the end of the day to the bottom line of the society. So we each place our operating grant in, and we each place in 50-50 on capital improvements. But this likely will be expensed, like it won't likely be a capital item, the cost of the engineering service. So it will likely be an in-year expense that if the budget is balanced at the end of the year, then it's completely absorbed within the organization. If for any reason there's not a balanced budget, both municipalities at that point the liability 50/50.
Just one more point. So moving forward, anytime this happens, I would like to see a joint document versus one or the other prepared for an RFP similar to this.
The chair couldn't agree more. And it was really about trying to get this out the door as quick as possible. And Turo's procurement folks had the capacity to get it out. We certainly had the ability to vet, but you're 100% correct. We would put this out as a joint document going forward. The expectation would be this assessment though will really give us that 5-year plan. So then your next piece would be each of the procurement elements as they would go out the door. So let's just say an RFP to install a chiller system. Then to your point, that would go out both names through the provincial procurement mechanism, but it would be identified as Truro and Colchester and the rec. Right.
Thank you, Dan. Councillor Benoit.
Thank you, Deputy. Through you to Dan, I just want to try to make sure I'm clear on everything that goes with the rec from here on out, but can you just tell me about the technical resource or who's involved in that, just so I have an understanding?
So from our side, and Michelle Boudreau was our review individual, not just with regards to the RFP itself, but also in the scoring.
Okay.
And Truro had their individual, and then going forward, it would be Michelle and her team, whoever would be needed in order. So thinking about, for example, the successful engineering firm, if they're doing a walkthrough of the building, likely we would have someone go with them. If they were creating documents, then those documents would likely be reviewed by Michelle's team, just to simply ensure that nothing's being missed or so on. And then likely as we get a draft report, they would be assisting us with kind of disseminating that information. So pretty much on our end, it will be our public works team. And I expect in Truro, but I can't speak to that they'll assign whatever resource they would assign. And then internally, obviously, we have our own operations staff at the rec who would be involved in all those discussions.
Right, great. Thank you.
Any further questions? Ready for the question? Question's been called. The vote is open. Please vote now. And there's unanimous support for the motion. Everybody?
Thank you.
Moving on to our information items. Dan, you're on again with our Director of Community Development.
So just as an information item to council, of course, we all know that we have Paul Smith is going to be retiring, and so we've gone through a recruitment process, interviews, and have a successful candidate who will be our new Director of Community Development. And so as folks know, Reed Shepherd has been offered and accepted the position. So Reed is going to be commencing working here on June 3rd. And so wanted to make sure everybody was aware, and we'll have an opportunity to meet Reed and welcome him on June 3rd.
Thank you. We're looking forward to meeting him. It's exciting. We're not looking forward to saying goodbye to Paul, but we're looking forward to meeting up with.
We know where to find him.
Looks so sad.
Thank you. And we have the Director's report from Public Works for information. Is there, are there any comments, questions for Michelle? Councillor Leggett?
You're just very happy to see that the warranty work on this Courthouse Branch and Teviot Place sidewalk projects are being looked at. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, Councillor Fletcher.
Just a question through the chair is, on Roby Street, there's quite a dip in it now. Is that, gonna be, kind of paved over again, or is it staying that way?
For speed. That way intentionally.
To speak on, yeah, Michelle.
Yes, through the chair. So because the gravel was hard to maintain in all this rain, it's a temporary very first lift, and then they'll come back and tidy it up. in a couple of
Thank you.
Oh.
Councillor Benmore?
Sorry. Through you to Michelle. Just wondering about the speed radar signs. It's great to see them out. I was just wondering, oh, I did read that. Sorry, council input on additional requested sites in the coming. Never mind. Thanks.
We'll come back.
Yep.
Anything further? Thank you very much for a great report, Michelle, as always. Our next item is our closed session in camera, and we look for a motion to go in camera. Councillor Martell, seconded by Councillor Cooper. We are now in camera. We'll take a 10-minute break.